But last night, we told you how the Chinese government was intimidating Australian politicians who attended a pro-Taiwanese event here in Sydney. The Chinese Consulate General sent intimidating emails to 1 federal and 10 state MPs, warning their attendance at a celebration for the new Taiwanese Prime Minister risked harming Chinese-Australian relations. Furthermore, the email warned our MPs that their attendance sent the wrong messages to the outside world. So our politicians have been told, you always check with the Chinese Communist Party before you accept any invitations to meet people from your New South Wales electorates. Now, reporting of all of this, including the emails that were sent by the Chinese consulate, these were published in the Daily Telegraph, obviously hit a nerve and embarrassed the Communist Party because now they've taken aim at the Daily Telegraph, firing off this email to the newspaper. The Consulate General regrets to see that your news report merely focuses on the reactions of the relevant MPs. The report also lacks a comprehensive and objective view of the historical background, the legal facts of the Taiwan question, and misrepresents the original intention of this Consulate General in sending the email. It goes on to say, it's hoped that in the future you can conduct news reporting with a professional, objective, fair and responsible attitude and principle. Fancy that, the Chinese Communist Party being experts on the free press. Now, leaving aside the fact that that email sounds to me like it was written with the help of ChatGPT, Caleb, they're treating Australian politicians and indeed the Australian media as if they answer to the Communist Party already. Well,
as I said last night, we are getting a taste here of what Australia will be like under Chinese rule. I mean, clearly they think the Daily Telegraph is the People's Daily or something, which is, of course, an arm of the Chinese Communist Party, and they can tell the media, which in China, of course, is state media, exactly what to say. The hide of the Consulate General to think it can dictate to not only politicians what events they should or should not be going to, but now telling free media in Australia what they should and should not be reporting on and how they should be reporting on it. They think they can do anything they want without impunity. It's pretty obvious. And right through all of this is this underlying threat that if you don't do what we tell you to do, then you threaten the links between Australia and China, which of course the federal government has been working on repairing since they came to power. What they're saying is if you don't do what we want you to do, well, who knows, maybe we'll cut off your wine exports again, maybe we'll cut off your meat, maybe we'll cut off your barley, your wheat, etc, etc. It's pretty clear what they're doing. These people are absolute bullies. We have to understand when we deal with China, we're not dealing with our friends in Indonesia or Canada or the US. We're dealing with a communist country that ultimately will sell us up the river any opportunity they get.
And the irony of this, like they're not the ones harming Australia-China relations.
I know.
By sending these threatening things to sitting MPs. I love that many of the free press in Australia, our media outlets, it's nearly on every single front page tomorrow, as you'll see when we get there, about the 1,200 China spies. So clearly we're not too worried about upsetting China. In fact, we rather like it. But speaking of upsetting Australia, years ago I started reading the Global Times because, of course, nothing is published by the CCP that hasn't been run through the Ministry of Truth. So it's their direct line to the people of China. They regularly refer to Australia as gum on their shoe. Canberra's just a small dog running around yapping after Washington. Our MPs don't even know what they're doing. We just follow America. They have a few points of truth there, but it is ridiculous how insulting their press is to Australia. On the Daily, I read it as comic relief because it's actually hilarious the way they speak about us, our MPs, our country, and how we're such a little consequence and they're the real bosses in town.
So with this sort of bullying and intimidation of our media and of our politicians, What are the chances that the Australian government will haul the Chinese ambassador in and give him a good dressing down and tell him this is a democracy, this is not how we operate?
About as much chance as me saying I hate jumps racing, I suspect. But can you imagine, like, the PMO writing off to China and say, we weren't very happy with that report you put in the Global Times or the People's Daily about our country. I hope next time you can deal in fair and accurate reporting. It would never happen,
well,
because China would write back and say, who the hell do you think you are?
Well, Scott Morrison did say he wasn't that happy about COVID, and look where that got us.
Well, exactly. But this is what they're threatening, is that if you do anything we don't like, there will be retribution for it. And we've been there before, and we know how damaging it was to us economically. And now they're threatening to do the same thing over some MPs going to celebrate the inauguration of a new president of Taiwan. If anything, it indicates to us why we should go harder in our support for Taiwan. And Penny Wong should be on a plane going to visit Taiwan and meet with the new president very shortly, just to, you know, stick it up the Chinese a little bit.
Well, that's the irony, isn't it? The fact that we don't do anything about this and we tolerate it simply sends the message that we are prepared to be bullied, we are prepared to be pushed around, and you can carry on.
Correct.
Expect more of the same.